All right, so hello everyone. I hope my voice is audible to everyone. If someone is not able to hear my voice, they can just. I asked everyone to put on mute, and if someone want to say something, we can type here, and then we can unmute. Great. So. Okay, so let's start the session. I'll just give some brief about myself, and then we will start with the demo session for the manual testing. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the session. My name is Avinash, and I am going to take your the manual testing demo session today. And I have in around total 15 years of experience into the same IT industry, where I've been part of the various roles, starting from the basic QA engineer. Then I moved into the QA lead, and then into the project management, and now heading a good team of more than 25-30 people in the organization. And I have extensive knowledge and in each and every area of the testing, and I'm going to teach you guys more about the testing principles and testing concepts going further. And whatever the doubt queries you have in between, you can ask me. You can just comment here, and I'll put you guys on unmute, and then we can start from there. Now, I'm going to share my screen, and then we are going to start with the demo session. Right. Hope my screen is visible to everyone. Just comment in the box. So if I able to understand that you can see my screen. Okay. All right. All right. So I assume that people from this, as we are not aware of the background of the people here, so you must be from the different background. Some might be having the college fresh out and having some knowledge of the testing. Some are very fresher and not having any idea about what testing is and all. So we are going to start from the basics, and then we are going to move further in the sessions going forward. We are going to be into more extensive testing concepts and the terminologies we are going to follow after that, right? Okay, so this is the very first session. This is a demo session, so we are going to cover the basics information about what testing is, why testing is required, and what are the basic principles of the testings and concepts like that. Okay. So the first question when you come for the manual testing or for the testing, you say we want to understand then why testing. Why do you want to do the testing only, and why not any other career you want to opt? So one of the very basic answer to that question is that testing is having a very high scope when we talk about the IT industry, because whatever you develop, whatever you build, testing is definitely required in order to launch that project or product into the market. Or also testing is very much required in order to ensure that whatever is being promised to someone is being delivered to that level. So that is the role where the testing come into the picture, and that is why the testing is having a very high scope. For example, if someone is building some software, if two people are building the software, then there must be four people behind it to test, because the testing is such an important job, and then it has to be decentralized at each features level, modules level, to ensure that we have given the enough time in testing, and we have tested each and every parameter or the features very clearly, so that tomorrow if the customer is going to use that, they do not face any issues, they do not face any bug. So when we say any issues, any bug, we will talk about all these things, what the issue is, what the bug is, and the other things as we go further. So one of the most important part. So, saying someone is saying something. Okay, so let me continue. So one of the most important part, why testing, because testing is having very high scope of getting a job, as the demand is very high, and it's not it's very important part, and every organization do require the manual testing engineers. Second, the manual testing majorly does not require any in-depth knowledge of any of the technology. So, if, for example, if you guys heard of the languages in which the product or project build, there are many languages such as Java, .NET, PHP, many front-end languages are there like React.js. So there are many technologies in which a system can build, or a project or a product can build. But for the manual testing or for the QA engineer, you need not to have the extensive knowledge of the technology. So that is an additive advantage why one should choose testing as a career. If he is not too much fond of the technology, still they can get manage to get a very good job in the testing, in the manual testing, and they can perform really well, because the testing does not ask you to learn the technology the product is built into. So if the project is, or the product is into the PHP language, or into the Java language, or into the .NET language, the same person can test the all three applications. So that is why there is no technology dependency, or there is very less technology dependency, that we will understand where the technology dependency is required later on. So that is why the second important factor is choosing the testing as a career, is that there is less technology dependencies. The third and the most important, as I said earlier, also that testing is a never-ending scope in the IT organization or in any other organization wherever the testing is applicable, because if there is the manufacturing happening for anything, if there is a software that is being manufactured, if there is a any other product that is being manufactured, then it has to go through the testing or the quality assurance process, in order to ensure that the product or the project meet the certain parameters which is being required to move that product into the live market for the customers. So that is why the testing is having always having a very good option to move forward. Now we move forward, who can perform the testing. So if you want to understand like whether I am good enough to go for the testing course, manual testing course, or what sort of skills do I required to get a job. So it is a very basic requirement in the testing, is that you should have a basic knowledge of digital platforms, and you should have the creative and the logical thinking in your mind to perform the testing. That is it. There is nothing else is required to learn the testing, because testing required a very fresh mindset, a very fresh approach, and a basic knowledge of navigating the application, the digital platforms, whatever the other platforms are there in the market. If you are good internet surfing guys, if you are using many applications in your mobile phone or in the web browsers, and you know how navigate applications works, there can be any application. It can be e-commerce application, it can be media platforms, and any other application. If you are fond of navigating those platforms, and you have some level of creativity in your mind, and you can think fresh, and you can communicate your things, then that is the good enough to get started with the testing. Now, what is required to get a job in the testing? So we need to understand that. So we started with why we should choose testing as a career, and then we understand that who can perform the testing. Now we are trying to understand that what is required to get a job in the testing. So this is important to learn, because this should be the outcome from the course that you will be eventually learning. So, to become a good QA engineer, to become a good tester, there are certain skills that you need to learn going further, or you need to brush up on those skills going further, so that you become a 360-degree person when you go into an organization and join any organization for the testing. First and most important is the good communication. So, when we say the communication is not only about in speaking English, or to the other subordinates within the organization, or to the client, it's the communication is about communicating within the team, to the other subordinates, and communication relates to understand the requirement from the customer, to understand the requirements from the team subordinates, so that you can understand the requirement well, and accordingly you can test the system or the responsibility that has been assigned to you later on. So the communication is very important. If you can understand what the customer is asking, and if you can understand the documents that is being provided to you, or that will be provided to you during the time you will actually start doing the testing in any of your organizations, and if you can read those documents, you can understand what they are trying to say. That is we call the communication is strong communication. So if you can understand that actually well, then it is very easy to test accordingly. So the good communication is the key. Then the listening power. So basically, to have a good communication, again, they are very proportionate to each other. You need to listen well. You need to understand uh, for the other person very well, in order to create your documents, in order to create, for example, if I say what sort of document tester can create, so tester creates the test cases, and they create the test plan. So all those documents you can only create if you have listened the other requirements, or the customer requirement, or the project manager requirements well enough in advance, and then only you can be able to reciprocate. You can be able to put your mind or your thoughts behind those requirements, and then you can come up with your creative minds, which is actually required for a tester. And then you can write all the positive and the negative scenarios. I will tell you guys in detail about those, what is positive scenario, what is negative scenario, what is the test case. We will come all those parameters to later stage, but right now we are just going through the basic concepts. So that listening power is very important. Then the creative thinking we talked about, because creativity is required to identify all the possible scenarios to test one particular feature. What are the different five types of positive scenario that can happen, and what are the different negative scenario that can happen? So to write down or jot down all those scenarios. You need to have that creative thinking or creative mind. The logical and analytical skills should be strong. And then the core concept and in-depth knowledge now how to implement them. So right, as rightly said that whatever the whatever the parameters, whatever the theories that you will learn, the last and the most important milestone is to implement them. So how to implement them is, for that you need to have a depth knowledge, like at what place what is going to be implemented and how to implement them so that to get the desired result. So these are the things which is required, which will be required in your job day in and day out. Once you going to learn, and you are going to learn all these things into this scenario in this testing course. All right. Having said that, let's get started with some basic principles of the testing. So even before that, if I say what is testing, anyone who want to tell me what is testing and have they have done testing in their field anytime? Yes, Sonia. Yeah.
So if I talk about the software testing, we need to test the software application, whether
Mhm,
it's a desktop application or the mobile application or the web application.
mhm.
And we need to test all the scenario, whether it is positive or negative. And we have to match with the expected requirement, expected outcome, which will be coming out after, performing those testing steps.
Uh, right, somewhat right. Okay, I'm just putting you on. Can you put on yourself on mute? Okay. Anyone else try want to try? What is testing? Okay. So let me tell you. So Sonia, you.
Testing is a process actually. Testing is a technique to ensure the requirements given by the customer meets the actual expectations or probably I mean it is meeting the expectations. Let's say whatever the customer asks for, and then we try to examine them or validate them to ensure they are on par with the requirements.
Right, very good. So, right, Teja, and thank you. I think earlier was Nali. Thank you, Sonia. Okay, so you can put yourself on mute. Right. So, yes, it's up to some extent. You both are right. Basically, the only and only criteria for testing is to check a system, or is to check the system to ensure the quality. So whenever someone asks why are you doing the testing and or software testing, so always say that why we are doing the testing, because we want to ensure uh, the quality. So testing testing is equal to ensure the quality. Quality is the very important parameter in this. If because we know that 100% testing or 100% finding the bugs is not possible. Okay, so what a QA can do, so the quality assurance guy or the testing or the QA engineers, they need to ensure that they can find the maximum bugs or the maximum issues in the system so that they can be resolved, and at the end we can reach close to the quality that we want to deliver. Okay, so whatever we are doing in testing is we are trying to match the quality, the level of quality that we want to deliver. Okay, now testing is happening at many stages, not not only in the software testing. When you go in any industry or you're going in your personal life also, then you are doing a testing. So for example, if you're going many of you definitely drive a vehicle. So when you go for purchase a vehicle, you are going to get at a test drive. Okay, so when you go in a showroom to get a test drive, and so there must be a salesperson who is going to tell you all the features about the vehicle, and then you are going to drive yourself to test that vehicle on those certain parameters. So that is how exactly what the testing is. So whenever a project or whenever a product been decided to build in any organization, there is someone if it is a project, then there must be a client or the customer who tells us the requirement. And if there is a product or it is an internal product, and definitely a product team within the organization who is going to tell us the requirements. So how we get the requirement, how do we get the requirement is if project, then it must be external external client. And if product, also it can be external client or internal product team stakeholders. Okay, so we got the requirements from them, and then these requirements are being drafted and then being signed off by the customer. Okay, so once the requirement being signed off, once the requirements being signed off, then it being sent to the development team or the testing team. And from here the process starts. Okay, so whatever after this step we are going to do, we are going to match those requirements. So the development team, they are going to start with the development, and basis on the requirement that is being listed and signed off. And the testing team, they are going to take the document and they are going to start with their test plan. And after that they are going to start with the test cases writing for those requirements. So these two things happen in parallel. So the development team, they start the development, and QA or the testing team, they start with the test plan, and then they start with the test case. I'll tell you in detail what the test plan is, what the test case is, how it happens, and everything. Right now we're just talking in length. And so this is how the very first step started, and once the requirement phases get over. Okay, so this is how we take the requirement, and then everything happens to match those requirements. So the whatever the test cases is being written by the QA engineer, that are being evaluated once they get the system developed from the development team, and then they reported the bugs onto those system if they are not performing according to their written test cases. And similarly, the development team, after developing their feature, which is being written into the requirement document, they also test at their level, and that we call that as a unit testing. Okay, that unit testing is generally performed by the developer to ensure that whatever they developed is actually working as per the requirement. So why that is why we call it is a unit testing, because that is being performed in single unit by the developer itself who's being developed the system. and then once that is being passed, then it is being sent to the quality team for their review, which we call as a QA release that the tester perform. Okay, and once that is being passed and that's has been gone through the entire bug cycle, then a new release called as the beta. Someone asking something. Okay, I'll summarize this first three line. I'll summarize in some time, Nazin, and I'll also understand your doubts. Thank you, Sayed, for your definition. Okay, so let's move forward. The beta release, it is sent to the customers for review. Okay, and this beta release, that is why we call it beta, because it has been sent to the customer for review before the final. And once the customer signed off onto the beta release, then the system goes to production, or we call it onto the live release. This is just a basic step I've told you. I'll explain that in all very much detail later on. Okay, now coming back to our process, let's talk about project versus a product. So we have talked so much about project and product in between. Now let's understand what is a project and what is a product. Anyone knows what is project and what is product and want to tell me? You can unmute yourself and continue.
I think project is something like set of programs um, which are which normally is a collective gathering of something. Let's say overall objective of performing some group of activities. So
Mhm.
that would be the project, and product is the one it is like in physical or in software form,
Mhm.
which is liable for test. So project normally is a set of processes,
Mhm.
and product is again it is like a set of software programs which would uh, run something, which would achieve, which would be used to achieve something, is what I think.
Right there. Great, thank you. So, okay, the bulky is okay. We said the project is developing stage and product is developed stage. Up to right up to certain extent, definitely, because if you say the project is gone through these phases, so we say the conceptualization, then requirement analysis, then design, then coding, then integration, testing, and maintenance. We will talk about each and every step in detail, but on a broader basis, these are the basic steps a project gone through. And once these steps are being performed onto the certain task, then a product is being developed. So we can say the project is has the product is the manufacturer, and the project is the process of the manufacturing the product. Okay, there here are certain things which you can read. What is the basic difference between the product and the project? So product has no beginning and the ending, if we say, because it is a combination of multiple projects, and multiple projects, each project has their defined beginning and defined ending, because each project they pass through the time, cost, and scope factor. And so when we say project has the foundation, project has the foundation of time, cost, and scope. First project has a certain funds associated to project, and they have a beginning and end date, and they have to finish within that time period. If the project is not getting finished in the defined timeline, then either what we say, if project is not getting finished in defined timeline, then two things can happen. A, either we have to cut down the scope, or we have to increase the timeline. When we say scope, that might be we need to cut down some of the features to meet the deadline. Project has to finish within a certain timeline, and certain has to be start at some point and has to be end at some point. So that is the foundation in the project, and then a multiple combination of those projects is becomes the product. Okay, so this is the cycle which each project goes through, and then once that's been done, and then the product is being manufactured. Okay, and definitely the if we read these attributes, then project is a beginning and the end. Project is short term. Project is a predictive planning. Obviously, is an upfront planning, and the product is not having any such planning. Product is an iterative process. As we go into the market, as we see the customer feedback, and then there is more iterations comes within the same feature. So what why we call it iterations? Because we might be rebuilding or we might be improving the same set of features or the process multiple times while developing the product. That is why we are calling it iterative process. Okay, adaptive planning, we are adapting from the market, and then we are improving, and then we are adapting again, then we are improving again. That is a cycle that product has to follow, a continuous improvement cycle. And obviously the product evolve as per the customer needs. So the project is not as volatile as the product is very volatile because the customer needs are very volatile. They keep changing over the period of time, and if you want to sustain in the market, then you have to change your products features accordingly, based upon the market and based upon the customer needs. So that is the basic definition about the project and the product. Now, if we understand the concept of software quality, all right. So software quality in or the software quality industry in the, if we say in terms of the IT, it comprises of these three terminologies, which we call as quality assurance, quality control, and the testing. So they all three are very similar, but they are yet different. Let me tell you how. So the quality assurance is basically is a process, is a set of entire process that is being followed at the organization level or the management level. So, for example, if I have I have defined certain set of processes or the rules, then being a quality assurance department, the role of the department is to ensure that that all processes or that all parameters has need to in place in proper place. So at every stage there are certain set of processes that is being followed, and that is the role of the quality assurance department or the guys who are into the quality assurance. They need to define that policies, and they need to ensure that it is being followed. When it comes to the quality control is to checking of those policies whether they are being followed or not. So the quality control or the QC guy, they do the validations of the processes. Whether once the processes are being built by the quality in the quality assurance stage by the management, by the QA management team, then the QC guys need to ensure that it is being properly followed and recorded. For example, if we are doing the testing, and there is one of the process which says that if there is a bug coming into the system, you need to capture the timestamp. So you need to capture the timestamp whenever you are doing the testing. You need to take a screenshot and record it along with the timestamp, and you need to record it into your bug tracking system so that you have a proof that you test the system and you received this bug, and you took the screenshot and you captured it, you mentioned everything. For example, now what happened that you did the testing, but you took the screenshot as well, but you did not take the entire screenshot, so that is why this date time stamp is not coming. So now we cannot say that whether the testing has been done today or it has been done 2 days before. So it will create a conflict. That might be that that issue was not there at that point of time. So because you don't have any proof. So this is one of the examples. So that is why the QC is being done. That's to ensure that that the things are properly implementing and they are properly being followed. The third and the basic grassroots part is the testing. So testing is actually performing the activity. So whatever the example I have given is the testing. So the person who is doing the testing, then they are basically following those activities or that steps to ensure the and to record and they are recording into the system to maintain the quality control, and the quality control is being maintained using the KPIs that is being defined into the quality assurance part. So that is how they all three are connected. That's a very important concept. They're very closely connected to each other. So that is need to be understood. Everything is clear till now. You guys are able to understand whatever I am saying. Just revert with your comment if any query or if you're able to understand
Yes,
whatever.
yes, pretty clear.
Great. Right. Okay. Let me hear to some other people. Okay. Good. Right. So this is the basics slide onto what is QA, QC, and testing differences based upon the certain parameters like purpose, focus, what, who, when. So this is pretty much what I have explained. You can read this later on. Once we our session is complete, you can read it. We'll give the slides, upload the slides. Okay. Then testing, we have understood, we have just learned testing is a process to check the system in order to ensure the quality is a very simple basic definition. Okay. So this is a basic of what is the start point of any project or any product within any organization. Okay, so this is a very first step of project bidding. We call this session, or we also call this as a business development. Okay. So let me give you a bit background, like how the project comes, what happens after that, and what is the process. So very first step is the business development. So where the business development team, they bid for the project. So when we say bidding, they actually apply, they talk to the customer, they took their very first requirement, and they create a kind of SOW document. So they call it SOW, statement of work document. You guys need to understand all these terminologies, because as you move on into the industry, as you will go, you will keep listening all these terms. Maybe in an interview they may ask you, or if you will throw these terminologies, it will be very effective that they will get to know that you are familiar with the terms, so you know those terms well in advance, not only in your department, in your QA, but also the pre and the post departments also. So the one of such department, the pre-sales department, can be a uh, explicit department which not directly into the QA part, but when you receive the document, you should understand the background of the document, why you are getting, from where you are getting, what this document is getting called into the industry. So that is why I will tell you a bit of background of that. So the business development team, they create the SOW document, which is called statement of work document, which generally comprises of the basic, very basic features of the systems, along with other info like technology, timeline, and budgeting. So once this is being approved by the client, so in the IT industry, the approved term, they call it the sign off. Every document which is being approved or being accepted by the client or the customer, they have to sign off the document. Sign off is a process, is where they have to scan and sign and return back. So once this process is done, which means that client has agreed to the initial stage of the requirement document, which is called the SOW document, that is being signed between both the parties, and now the project is in. So that is where we start the project into the organization. Now, once that is done, the step two is the kickoff meeting. This is again another terminology. So kickoff meeting is basically the introduction meeting which has happened for the very first time between the client and the internal team. It's an introduction. It's an introduction to client and the team. Okay, so this kickoff meeting is basically is being between. This is the very first interface where the post sales team, or we say the project manager, business analyst, or sometimes the team lead, also taking part into the meeting. So they get introduced to each other, and then they define a SPOC. When we say the SPOC is a single point of contact person who is going to communicate and responsible for all the escalation within the project. So that is being defined and communicated to the client, and this is how the kickoff meeting gets completed. And the third step is the project initiation notes, which is called PIN. So, okay, so this PIN is basically created by the project manager, and this is just an approval from the internal team. This is just for the approval from the internal team or the sometimes company director to get started with the project. So these are the basic 2-3 steps that every company follows. There might be their different terminologies they use, but these are the certain standards that being followed in many of the organization. And once they get the go ahead to start, then the actual project started. So this is the basic steps into how the project gets started within an organization, how it comes, how it gets signed off, how they get the approval from the customer, and how the project manager can initiate the process to get the project started within the organization. Okay, so that is being explained. I think many of us heard of this terminology is also called SDLC or Software Development Life Cycle. This is one of the important, very important process that is being followed during the entire system development within the organization, especially while developing a software or any application in an IT organization. So the first step is the initiation steps, which I just explained. This is the initiation steps where uh, the team introduced with the project manager. The project manager gets started with the resources. He jot down all the resources, and then they get started. They discuss about the project. They discuss about the SOW document, and they get some ideas what the project is all about, and that's how they get started with the first phase, which is called the initiation phase. So that is the very first step of the software development life cycle. Once the initiation phases get started, in the initiation phase, the project manager also creates certain sort of documents, or they started creating certain sort of documents, which is called okay. So they create started with the project plan, and this project plan consists of the sources who is going to work on the project, the activities that is going to perform in the project, and the start and end date for each activity. This is a very initial phase, but they get started with the project plan. Project plan keeps updated during many other phases into the SDLC process. This is the first step. Then the second step is the requirement gathering, or we call it the analysis phase. In this phase, the project manager, business analyst, they get the direct interaction with the client and the customers, and through the requirement workshop, using if it is online, they can have they get requirement through the con calls, and if it is in person, they can go to the client location, or the client come to the organization location, and then they discuss the requirement in detail, and then they jot down the requirements, and then started creating a document which is very famous. We call it business requirement specification, which is the BRS. This is the first document that is being created during this phase. I will explain. I will showcase how the BRS looks like in detail. So right now we are just talking about the processes. So we're just writing here, but I will explain everything like how the BRS is being built, what is the BRS and all. So right now we'll talk in very brief. So this is the first document that they started creating. The BRS is generally consists of requirement number, a one liner about the feature, and if any validations or any specific comments, restrictions about this feature. This is generally the Word document, and then they create the BRS in the form of the table, where kind of, if we say we insert a table, it looks like this: comment number, feature name, feature details, and any validation. So this is how they started creating the the document, the business requirement document. And once the document is being prepared, it is being sent for the customer review. And once done, sent for customer review and get sign off. Once this is sign off, which means that now the requirement is being finalized from the customer and it is being signed off, and there will be no change accepted in the requirement. So anything which comes after the requirement being signed off, they has to go through the CR process, which we call it change request. We will discuss this because this is very important. We'll discuss this in detail. Anything comes after sign off will go into the CR process. So this is how the requirement are being closed. So once the BRS is done, then there is a team of business analysts who started working on to the detail of these BRS document, which we call it the software requirement specification, or the SRS. This is again a very important document, and this is the most important one because this document is being used by the developer for developing the features, and this is also being used by the QA engineers or the tester for started for creating the test cases. So the SRS is the detailed document where they took the requirement from the BRS and then they define the unique ID for each requirement and captured all the functional and non-functional requirement, non-functional requirement within this SRS document. And the reason why the document is so detailed because using this document, the team is going to start with the development and the testing team is going to start with the test case writing. So this has to be in detail. It should cover all the positive scenarios as well as the alternate scenarios uh, which is required to develop the feature. I will tell you the sample. We'll create one small specification document as well. So we'll give you brief about that. Okay. Once this document is created in the requirement gathering phase, then the designing phase is getting started, where the creative team, the designers, the UI team, they took the document and then they started with the designing, the actual prototype designing, where they use the softwares like Photoshop and all, and then they starting creating the UI mockups for the feature or the system. And at the same time, it is being shared with the development team where they started creating the backend structure, the databases and all. This is on this, and They also started creating the low level design documents. I'll tell you what low level design document is later on. So they started creating the development database and the low level design document, because that is being required further for developing the each feature when it is going to the development team and the members into the team. Okay, so that is being done to the design team, and once the designing is done and approved from the customer side, then the coding and the development phase started. This is the phase where the software testing life cycle is also getting started, SDLC, where the team started with the test plan and they started writing the test cases. And by the time the development team developed the system and it moves into the testing team also execute their test cycle, and then they create the test plan and the test cases ready. Uh, 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 when I say ready means it's been created, it's been reviewed by the QA lead, it's being approved by the project manager and the QA lead, and it is ready to execute the test cases before the system feature getting developed and come to them. So this is the phase between 4 and 5 where the test case is being written and getting reviewed and approved from the respective stakeholders. And when the product they deploy for the QA for the testing after doing their unit testing, then the actual test case execution process start into this, and that's it keeps going. And whatever the bugs they encountered, they reported, and the entire bug life cycle followed till the bugs get resolved or till the satisfactory results get achieved, and then it is being shared as a beta release to the client on their portal on their server to test the application. And once that is done, then it is being live, and which comes into the point number 6, where we deliver means we are going to go live, and then we are going to maintain the platform up to for some period based upon defined and agreed, and to maintain the system. So that is how the SDLC cycle gets over. Any confusion, any doubt till here? Is everything is clear? Okay, there are some questions. Let's take that. Okay, Mukta. What is the function of post sales team? Okay, so the post sales team is basically comprises of project manager, business analyst. So once the pre sales team get the project from the client at this is pre sales team. Post sales team has two roles. Okay, one is to attend the kickoff meeting once the project comes in, and before that, also post sales team, because it consists of PM, team lead, or business analyst, they take part in the along with the pre-sales team to convert the project, because sometimes what happened that client may have certain technical queries at the very early stage along. So the pre-sales team asked for help from the post-sales team, and then they took part into the calls, into the meetings, even before the project comes onto the board. And then they solve the queries, and then that is how they help them to convert the project actually. So that is one part. And second part, once the project comes in, they attend the first kickoff meeting, and then they because they are the one who is going to take care of the project afterwards with the development design and the testing team. And so that is how the project manager and the BA they handle the post sales team department. They all come to the post sales teams. Hope this is clear to you, Mukta. And now, how many times kickoff meeting will happen? Like it for every sprint or it for one time meeting? Okay, uh, Damodar. Okay, so generally the kickoff meetings, when we say the kickoff word is only happen once, because kickoff means whenever the project is getting started for the first time, that is called the kickoff. Once the first meeting is done with the customer, everyone get introduced with the other person, then rest of the meetings they are not comes under the kickoff. Okay, so for each sprint, there are different terminologies for that. When you, as you have used the word called sprint, this is the agile process. In agile process, they have daily scrum meetings. So those kind of meetings happens, but kickoff meetings only happen once. So hope this answers your questions, Damodar. Okay. Great. Anyone have any other question? Because after this, I am just going to brief you about. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to stop here today for the content structure, and then I'm going to give you a brief about what we are going to learn during the entire course into the course content. So we're going to go through it once, and then we will close the session. So let me start with that. So this the manual testing curriculum that we have that we're going to cover in next couple of months when we will complete our course and we will move further. So the objective of the course is very clear. Is very clear to me. The primary goal of this course is to ready each one of you in such a way that from day one or even before you interact during your interviews or your interaction with the leaders, then they must be get the kind of feeling that you are very much aware of all the terminologies, you know all the departments, you know not only about the testing, the quality, but you know about the other things as well, because that is very much required to become intelligent QA. Okay, so the primary objective of the goal is that only we're going to cover each and everything. We're going to understand each and every methodology, how it is being done in testing, why it is being done in this way in testing, what to be done, what is a good testing call, like how we can become a very efficient tester, how we can become more than a tester for the organization, and we will prepare you to up to that extent. So that is the objective. Okay, and apart from all these things, like create a test case, execute test case, how to log a defect, what is the bug defect cycle, what is SDLC, what is STLC, these all things definitely they are the basic things we're going to cover. What are the testing methodology, what are the different project development life cycle and the product development life cycle they're going to cover in depth. And then we are going to cover a bit of database as well, where we understand what is database, why it is important, and if we want to test a database being a manual tester, how we can do that. So that part also I'll teach you. And then I'll give you some good skills on to the documentation, like how to create the BRS, as I just talked about, how to create the SRS, and what it looks like, how to read it, and then what is requirement traceability metrics, what is impact analysis. Okay, I will be telling Sonia what all tools I will be covering later on this curriculum. I will be telling you. And okay, so then moving forward, I will also give you a basics of API, what is API, what is basic API testing using Postman through manual testing in the part of manual testing, so that I will explain. Okay, so now comes to the tool. So there are certain tool or terminologies, methodologies we are going to cover. So when we will talk about SDLC, we'll talk about the major all the SDLC methodology, like what is waterfall, Agile, Scrum, and the other. Then the testing defect management tool, the bug management tool, we will learn, and I'll give you the exposure on how the Bugzilla works, how the OTRS work, and the other TFS works. So these defect management tool. Then the test case writing, we can use we can write the test case using Excel. We can use a test case using TestRail, TestString. I will give you those tool access, and we'll tell you how to write that. Then we will learn more about the project management and communication once a project being created. And there are in organization there are various project management tools we have to use through the entire team. So we will learn the Basecamp, Slack, Asana, Twilio, Teamwork. I'll give you the go through of each and every one. Then the test documentation, yes, I'll tell you how to write the RTM, how to write the BRS, FRS, how to create the test plan, and how to create the impact analysis, the risk analysis, all these things, and how to create the BRN. So this is related to some of the documentation. Then, apart from the standard testing, we will learn more about what is mobile application testing, how it is different from the other, how to test a mobile application, then API testing using Postman, and the various other testing type as well. Then we will talk about the database. We will learn the database using Workbench tool that we will use, and we will learn the basic SQL queries, and we will see how to read a database, how to test the database. But use being a manual tester, that much is required that I will tell you. Then basic skills for Word, Excel, and some mind mapping tool. If you want to create something, some features for your client or some internal team, how will you do that? Those things I will tell you. And in last, basic soft skills like email writing, how to write strong emails within the team so that your personality will come out separately as a standalone personality will come out. And the team communication, how to do that, client communication, and then analytical and logical reasoning, how to build that, resume building, and some mock interviews. Yes, Google Doc sheet, definitely it's a part of the process. We will cover that. Then this is the course in depth. You can also read that. First module will be introduction to testing that we've just started. We will follow this into the next session. And then we will, second module, we will read more about SDLC and SDLC in detail, like what are the different phases, what happens in each and every phase. And during each phase, whatever the document tools are being used, I will be keep using that so that you will be getting familiar of that. Then the software testing life cycle, we will be covering what is test plan, why to create a test plan, what are the different things that is being captured into a test plan, then how to develop a test case, then what's the test environment setup, how to do that, what's the importance of that, how to execute a test case and everything. Then the software development methodology also in this space we will cover different agile, scrum, waterfall, and all. Then we will use the different testing core components like unit testing, integration testing, functional regression, acceptance testing. We will read about each and everything in this. Then we will different testing techniques. We will read about like what is white box, black box, and gray box testing. When to do white box and what is the meaning of white and the black box testing. Then we will understand about the functional testing like unit testing, integration testing, system acceptance, and the non-functional, various non-functional testing. We will also read about what is UI testing. UI testing is very important. We'll understand what is the importance of UI testing and the other testing also, security, compatibility. We all read about all this. Then I'll come about in depth the test plan. What is the test plan? How to create? What all things should be included in test plan? What is entry and exit criteria? All these things will be written. Then test case designing. We will be writing the test case for the projects for this system for different projects. So you will get an idea exactly how to write. This is very important. Test case designing and writing is very important. So we will be doing that, and then we will be performing the entire defect management cycle, the test execution and everything. We will do that. How to close a test, and then the documentation. I'm sorry. And then we will cover the API and the mobile application testing together. So we will understand what is API, why API is being used, what is the advantage of API, how to test an API, and we will be using the Postman for doing the API testing, and then mobile application also we will test. I will give you the projects also to test these things so that you will get to work onto the live projects and you will understand exactly how the requirement comes, how they developed, and what you are testing. They are actually the live projects and running right now, or they are into the testing phase. So I will give you those projects. And then we will learn about the basics of database, and using Workbench we will see how the database tables are being created, what is the foreign key, what is primary key, and how to create a small database, how to read the different databases, what are different ACID properties in database, data integrity, and also we'll learn basics of that. Whatever is required for the manual testing, we'll cover that. And then in last, we will read more about the project management tools and some document creation skills. Okay, and then soft skills. So this will be the structure that we'll be going to cover in next 1.5 months or 2 months time. This thing we will cover. So I'm done from my side. Anyone have any questions? You can ask me. You can unmute yourself and ask me the question one at a time.
So what is the duration of this course?
This course, Damodar, we will try to cover somewhere in between 1.5 months to 2 months.
It's a weekend course, right? And weekday course, weekend, yes.
Yeah, it's a weekend course. Yes, Balki, it is very much possible to cover the whole course within 2 months' time, and we will be covering each and every feature topic in depth in detail. We will be taking the doubt sessions. I will be giving you some work as well to do, and we will be able to achieve that very easily. Because it's just a manual testing course, it's not an automation course. Okay, so we're going to cover the manual testing parameters, all the parameters. Anyone have any other query, or how much time each day on the weekend? So we are going to cover 2 hours on Saturday and Sunday. So that will be 2 hours each day in the weekend. And it will be morning session. So for next Saturday, we will be starting from 8:30 morning IST time.
Is it
So,
morning?
yeah, 8:30 morning IST time. Next
Okay.
Saturday, yeah, from the next week. Okay. Anyone, any other question? If not,
I have a question, if you don't mind. Can I ask?
no, sure.
Yeah. So you explained the change request, right? I don't know.
Yes.
Should I ask you right now, or we can go with the
No,
course?
you can ask. If it's a short answer, I can give you right now. Else I will
Okay.
tell you.
So for the change request, what are our responsibility with respect to QA activity? Is there any kind of document we need to make, or just like how it process
Right.
the change?
So the change request, there are many entry points for the change request. So change request, if it is coming from the client end, the QA responsibilities is very less. So if it is coming from the client end, then the QA or the QA lead might have asked to do the analysis of the change request for the impact. So what QA does, what he just understand the change, and then they need to go into their scripts, the test cases, and then they need to analyze how many test cases are going to affect due to that change, and that how many numbers they need to tell to the project manager, because or they can directly communicate to the client if they are communicating to the client based upon the organization structure. So based upon that, it's been decided that what is the impact of the change, right? And
Right.
based on that impact, the timeline and the budgeting is being defined.
So in the
Yes.
change request, our main focus just for the testing, right? Not the other activity like test planning and just to run the test case, right? After understanding the impact, then we have to
Yes.
make the test case, right? Okay.
Yeah, so before making the test cases, the change request has to be approved, and so for that, QA have to create the impact analysis document as well, which is called IA. They have to do the
Okay.
impact analysis. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks. Got it.
Okay. Okay, so let's close the session for the day. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time. I hope you all enjoyed the session, and the recording and the slides will be available onto the portal. Rahul will upload it, and see you into the next session. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.